You were never anxious by accident. Your body learned something long before your mind had language for it. And what you call anxiety today may actually be a signal, not a flaw, not a weakness, not proof that something is wrong with you. A signal. A message from a nervous system that learned to stay awake, stay alert, stay ready, because at some point in your life, readiness was not optional, it was survival. Because somewhere in your life, calm was not always safe. Somewhere, silence meant something was coming. Somewhere, love came with tension attached to it. Somewhere, you learned to scan the room before you could allow yourself to trust it. And now your body keeps sending the same message, even when the room is different, even when the people are different, even when everything has changed except the signal itself. Pay attention. Something is not resolved. Tonight, we are not going to shame your anxiety. We are going to listen to it. Because there is something underneath anxiety that almost nobody takes the time to talk about honestly. Not the racing heart, not the shallow breath, not the mind that produces thoughts you never asked for at 3 in the morning. Underneath all of that, there is a story. A story the body memorized before you ever had words to describe what was happening. A story that made complete and logical sense in the conditions where it was first formed. A story that protected you in the only way it knew how, when protection was what you needed most. And a story that your nervous system is still narrating, faithfully, loyally, exhaustingly, even though the original conditions that made that story necessary had long since changed. Some of you have been managing anxiety for years. You have tried breathing exercises, you have tried journaling, you have tried medication, you have tried therapy. You have tried willpower, visualization, positive thinking, early mornings, cold showers, every technique anyone ever handed you with genuine intention to help. And in moments, things genuinely got better. The volume lowered, the frequency decreased. You had days, sometimes weeks, sometimes longer stretches where the signal seemed to have finally quieted. But then it returned. Not because you failed, not because you are fundamentally broken in a way that cannot be addressed, not because there is something uniquely and permanently wrong with the wiring you were given, but because the signal was never asking to be silenced. It was asking patiently, persistently, loudly to be understood. There is a meaningful and important difference between a smoke alarm that needs to be switched off and a smoke alarm that is pointing at an actual fire. Most anxiety management in the modern world, whether clinical, pharmaceutical, or behavioral, is primarily aimed at lowering the volume of the alarm. Tonight, we are going further than that. We are asking the question nobody asked you when all of this began. Not what is wrong with you, but what happened to you, specifically, precisely, without judgment. And what did your nervous system learn from that made this level of constant vigilance feel not just useful, but absolutely essential to your survival? Because you did not choose to be this way, you adapted. You responded to the conditions you were placed in with the intelligence available to you at the time. And adaptation at its core is not weakness. It is the nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, responding to the actual conditions of the actual environment it was shaped by. Your anxiety is not a malfunction. It is evidence that you were paying attention when paying attention genuinely mattered. It is evidence of a system that did its job, faithfully, completely, at enormous cost to your daily comfort. The question now is whether the threat that originally trained it still exists in your actual present life. In most cases, it does not. But your nervous system never received that update. It is still running the original program, faithfully, loyally, exhaustingly. Stay with this, because what comes next is not about managing the symptom. It is about understanding the origin. And origin, precise, honest, clear-eyed origin, is where everything begins to change. What that means, practically, is this.
You are not going to leave tonight the same way you arrived, not because this session will fix everything. It will not, and anyone who promises that is not being honest with you, but because understanding is a door, and once a door opens, it cannot fully close. The signal is not your enemy. It never was. It was always just a message, waiting with extraordinary patience to be correctly read.
If you misunderstand anxiety, you fight yourself. You treat your own body like an enemy that needs to be defeated, an obstacle between you and the life you want to live. You try to silence the alarm without ever asking why it started ringing in the first place. That is why so many people feel permanently trapped, even after years of doing the work, even after genuine effort and real commitment to change. They breathe, they journal, they meditate. They repeat affirmations until the words have lost all meaning, until the repetition itself feels hollow. They attend sessions, read books, follow carefully designed protocols that other people have found genuinely helpful. And still, the body tightens again. Still, the signal returns. Because the signal was never asking for performance, it was asking for recognition. There is a fundamental difference between managing anxiety and understanding its origin. Management lowers the volume temporarily. Understanding changes the relationship permanently. And relationship between you and your own body, between you and your own history, is everything. If this already feels personal, if something in you is already shifting before your mind has fully processed what you are hearing, stay with that. Because the pattern becomes visible in layers. First, you see what the body is doing, the physical symptoms, the tightening, the activation that arrives before any thought has formed. Then you begin to recognize the memory the body is holding, the older, deeper pattern beneath the surface symptoms. Then you begin to understand the identity you quietly built around surviving that memory, the story about yourself that emerged directly from what you had to endure. Think about what happens every single time you call yourself anxious. What follows that word in the silence after you say it? Difficult, too much, too sensitive, dramatic, hard to love consistently, hard to be around without significant effort or accommodation from others. These are not descriptions of a fundamental and permanent personality. These are conclusions formed in specific environments by a mind doing its very best to make sense of experiences it could not fully understand at the time. They are the interpretations of a person trying to survive something difficult, not the truth about who that person fundamentally is. And somewhere along the way, gradually, almost invisibly, you started agreeing with those interpretations. You started managing your own responses and edges to make others more comfortable around you. You started apologizing for reactions that were, at their core, completely proportional to what you actually experienced. You learned to perform calm on the outside while carrying a weight that nobody in your environment could fully see. And the performance became its own kind of exhaustion, layered directly on top of the original exhaustion that created the need to perform in the first place. This is the second cost of misunderstanding anxiety. Not just the sensation itself, the story about the sensation. The story that grows in the silence after every episode and says, in a voice that sounds like your own, something is fundamentally wrong with me, something that cannot be fixed, something that makes me uniquely, permanently, exhaustingly broken. That story is not accurate. But it needs to be replaced with something true, not comfortable, but true. Not a positive affirmation pasted over a wound that has never been properly examined, not a motivational quote about strength and resilience. A biological truth, a factual, grounded, scientifically supported understanding of how nervous systems actually function when they have been shaped by the specific conditions you were shaped by. Your nervous system is responding to information it encoded in conditions that genuinely required that level of response. That encoding was not a mistake. That encoding was intelligent. That encoding helped you navigate something real with the resources available to you at the time. The problem is not the intelligence of the response. The problem is the timing. The conditions that originally created the encoding may no longer exist in your present life. The specific threat is gone. The specific room is different. The specific relationships are different. But the body has not received that update. And until it receives consistent, embodied evidence, not just intellectual reassurance, but lived, felt, repeated experience that the present is genuinely different from the past that trained it, it will keep sending the same signal. Because that is what it was built to do. That is not a flaw. That is faithfulness. And tonight, we begin giving it the evidence it needs to finally, slowly, update.
Carl Jung used the word shadow to describe the parts of the psyche we reject, hide, or exile because they threaten the image we want to maintain of ourselves. But the shadow is not only darkness. Sometimes the shadow is fear that once had a job. Fear that protected you. Fear that helped you survive an unpredictable room, an unpredictable relationship, an emotional environment that required constant attentiveness just to navigate safely. Fear that learned to read tiny changes in tone, posture, silence, and facial expression with extraordinary precision, because reading those changes accurately was once not optional, it was essential to your survival. Modern psychology calls one version of this hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is not paranoia. It is not a personality defect or a sign of fundamental weakness. It is the trained and intelligent response of a nervous system that learned through direct and repeated lived experience that danger could arrive without warning, and often did. And if you lived in that state long enough, your body did not call it trauma. Your body called it normal. Because it was the only normal it had ever been given the opportunity to know. Donald Hebb, in 1949, gave neuroscience one of its most important and enduring principles. Neurons that fire together wire together. Repeated fear creates a pathway. Repeated anticipation creates a pathway. Repeated emotional uncertainty creates a pathway. Repeated scanning of the environment for threat creates a pathway. Repeated bracing before impact creates a pathway. All of it strengthening with every repetition, becoming more automatic, more immediate, more deeply embedded in the architecture of how the nervous system operates day to day.
This is why anxiety can feel completely involuntary, why it arrives before a single conscious thought has fully formed, why it does not respond well to logic alone, to reassurance, or to reason, because it is not stored where logic and reason live. It is stored at a deeper and older layer of the nervous system, the layer that cares about survival first and understanding second. And at that layer, the response is not random at all. It is rehearsed biology, responding to pattern. And biology, this is the part that matters most tonight, can be retrained. But here is what the standard models often miss entirely. The wiring that created the anxiety was not created in a vacuum. It was created in relationship, in the specific texture of how love, safety, and consistency were or were not available to you in the environments that shaped your earliest understanding of the world. John Bowlby spent decades studying what happens to people whose early attachments are disrupted, unpredictable, or emotionally unavailable. He found that the body builds what he called an internal working model, a template, a deep operating map of what to expect from other people, from intimacy, from trust, from closeness, from safety itself. And that template, once formed, does not wait for new evidence before applying its conclusions to the present. It anticipates, it filters what you notice and what you dismiss. It shapes what registers as familiar and what registers as dangerous. It decides, before you consciously decide, what level of trust is appropriate in a given situation. If that template was formed in conditions of emotional inconsistency, unpredictability, or emotional unavailability, you may have learned at a level entirely beneath conscious awareness that love is ultimately conditional, that peace is temporary by nature, that safety requires continuous monitoring to be maintained, and the monitoring never fully turns off. Because the template is not stored in the thinking mind where you could examine and consciously revise it. It is stored in the body. In the shoulders that carry chronic tension, in the chest that closes at the first sign of uncertainty, in the jaw that holds what cannot be expressed, in the nervous system's continuous automatic, moment-by-moment calculation of environmental threat. Bessel van der Kolk spent decades documenting this reality in clinical settings and wrote about it with a precision that permanently changed how trauma was understood and treated. The body keeps the score, not the thinking mind, not the narrative memory, the body. Which means that insight alone, as valuable and genuinely necessary as it is often not sufficient on its own. Because the body is primarily not responding to your words about what happened in the past, it is responding to your lived experience in the present, to whether calm now consistently leads to safety, or whether it eventually leads to ambush, to whether vulnerability now leads to connection, or whether it eventually leads to exposure, to whether trust now leads to belonging, or whether it eventually leads to the disappointment that the old template always predicted. The architecture of your anxiety was built one real experience at a time, without your consent, without your full understanding of what was being constructed. And it can be rebuilt one real experience at a time. This is the neuroplasticity that modern science has now spent decades documenting and confirming in clinical and laboratory settings.
the genuine capacity of the nervous system to reorganize itself based on new, repeated, embodied experience. You are not permanently wired this way. You are temporarily calibrated this way. And calibration can change. That is not optimism or wishful thinking. That is the documented science of how nervous systems actually function.
The first signal is not in your thoughts, it is in your body. Tight chest, shallow breathing, a stomach that closes before anything has actually happened, before a word has been spoken, before a message has arrived, before any external event has occurred to justify the response. A jaw that clenches while the surface of your life looks entirely peaceful. A back that carries tension that never fully releases, even during sleep, even during rest. The amygdala, a threat detection structure deep in the brain, can initiate a full physiological stress response before conscious thought has fully formed. Your body can react before you understand why it is reacting. This is why people say, with genuine confusion and frustration, "I know logically that nothing is wrong right now, but I still feel unsafe." They are not being irrational. They are telling the precise truth about the split between what the mind knows and what the body continues to insist on. The mind knows the present. The body remembers the past. And in the space between those two realities, between what you know intellectually and what your body continues to insist on regardless, anxiety lives. The second signal is anticipation. You wait for the message you have received before. You wait for the shift in tone that signals something is about to change. You wait for the disappointment that has not arrived yet, but that every pattern in your history tells you is coming eventually. You wait for the good thing to end. You wait for the quiet before the impact. You wait for the peace to reveal itself as the setup you always suspected it was. And because waiting for impact has felt more familiar than actually receiving and inhabiting peace, peace itself begins to feel suspicious. This is the hidden and rarely named architecture of deep conditioning. It does not only create fear in response to actual present danger, it creates fear in response to the absence of the familiar pain. It can make genuine, unhurried calm feel like a warning signal that something is about to go wrong. It can make kindness feel like a debt not yet collected. It can make real love feel like something that cannot last, that will eventually be withdrawn or proved conditional. It can make success feel like exposure to a correction that is surely coming to balance the ledger. When safety feels like a setup, you cannot fully receive it. You deflect it. You undermine it without intending to. You test it repeatedly until it breaks. Not because you want it to break, but because the breaking feels more familiar than the holding. And familiar, in the language of the nervous system, registers as safe, even when it is quietly consuming the life you are consciously and desperately trying to build. Even when you can see with complete clarity what you are doing, even when you want deeply and sincerely to stop. There is nothing in you that is simply choosing this. This is the architecture of learned anticipation, operating at a level that sits almost entirely beneath conscious choice. The third signal is somatic memory. Your body holds information that predates your conscious recall by years, sometimes by decades. A specific tone of voice, even in a completely different person who has done nothing harmful, can tighten your chest before you recognize what triggered it. A particular kind of silence can activate the full vigilance response before you have consciously identified what the silence reminded you of. A combination of sensory information, light, smell, temperature, a specific social dynamic,
can bring back a complete physiological state that was first encoded in an entirely different time and place. This is not irrationality. This is an exquisitely trained sensory system responding to pattern with extraordinary precision and speed. The problem is not that the system is sensitive. The problem is that it was trained in conditions that no longer apply to your present life. And it was never given the explicit message that those conditions had ended. You never received the announcement that said, in terms the body could actually register, "It is over. You made it through. The conditions that trained this response are no longer your present reality." In the absence of that message, the body kept the post, kept the watch, kept the vigilance, kept the preparation. Loyally, faithfully, at enormous cost to the life you are trying to inhabit. Your anxiety, understood from this angle, may be an act of loyalty to a threat that no longer exists, to conditions that were once real and no longer do, to a version of the world that required this level of readiness and no longer does. And the most powerful thing you can offer that loyal, exhausted, faithfully watchful system before any technique, before any protocol, is recognition. The recognition that it did its job, that the watching was warranted, that the vigilance was earned by actual experience, not invented by a broken mind, and that the present, this specific, actual, concrete present, is genuinely and structurally different from the past that trained it.
Here is the turn. Your nervous system does not protect happiness. It protects familiarity. That single sentence, held carefully and honestly, explains more self-sabotage, more inexplicable relationship destruction, more bewildering and painful choices than almost any other framework I can offer you tonight. If chaos was the emotional texture of love you grew up knowing, genuine calm can feel threatening, like something is being withheld, like something is about to change, like the other shoe is about to drop. If criticism was familiar, consistent kindness can feel suspicious, like it cannot be real, like it must have a cost attached, like it will eventually be taken back. If abandonment was familiar, real intimacy can feel dangerous, like closeness is simply the precondition for a deeper loss. If constant pressure and urgency were the air you breathed, rest can feel irresponsible, like something is being neglected, like you do not have the right to stop, like stopping will have consequences. If scarcity was familiar, receiving abundance in any form can feel like something that cannot last, that will be corrected, that is a mistake waiting to be discovered. This is why people return again and again to patterns they consciously hate and desperately want to escape. Not because they want pain, not because they are fundamentally self-destructive or incapable of growth, but because pain, when it is familiar, registers in the nervous system as manageable, as predictable, as something the system knows how to navigate. And predictability, even painful, costly predictability, feels at the nervous system level like safety. Even when it is methodically consuming the life you are actively and consciously trying to build, even when you can see with complete clarity exactly what you are doing, even when you have read every book, attended every workshop, understood every principle intellectually. The body does not update through intellectual insight, it updates through embodied experience. And the experience it defaults to in the absence of strong, consistent, repeated evidence of something different, is the familiar one. Epictetus wrote nearly 2,000 years ago that people are disturbed not by events themselves, but by the meanings they assign to events. Anxiety is, in very large part, meaning attached to sensation. A silence becomes rejection. A delayed response becomes abandonment. A genuine success becomes exposure to the failure that must inevitably follow. A quiet, unhurried moment becomes the pause before impact. An open expression of real warmth becomes the setup for the inevitable withdrawal. The body creates equations, and then you live inside those equations as if they were simply the unalterable nature of reality itself, not the product of a specific history, but the truth about how things always are. These equations were not arbitrary, they were logical, they were constructed from real data, collected in real circumstances that genuinely required those specific interpretations to navigate safely at the time. The problem is not that the equations were formed. The problem is that they are being applied to present situations that do not match the original conditions that created them. You are using a detailed and accurate map of one specific city to navigate a completely different one, and then experiencing profound confusion, disappointment, and exhaustion when the terrain refuses to match the map. Here is where the work becomes genuinely powerful, not just intellectually interesting, but practically transformative. When the chest tightens and the signal rises, the question that actually opens something is not, "What is wrong with me?" The question is, what equation is running right now? What does silence equal in the specific internal language of this particular nervous system? What does unexpected kindness equal? What does visible success equal? What does genuine rest equal? What does being fully and completely seen by another person equal? Because every spike of anxiety is a sentence completing itself, automatically, rapidly, beneath conscious awareness, according to data that was collected in a different time, in a different room, by a different version of you. And that data can be revised. Not through wishful thinking, not through affirmations layered over conclusions that have never been honestly examined. Through actual, embodied, lived experience that consistently and repeatedly provides different data. The nervous system is not sentimental. It does not prefer the old equations because they are familiar. It defaults to whatever equations have received the most consistent, repeated, embodied evidence. Which means you have real, meaningful influence here. Not total control, but genuine influence over what data you provide to your own system, over what environments you consistently choose to move through, over what relationships you allow close proximity to your nervous system, over what you accept consciously, deliberately, as valid evidence about who you actually are and what is genuinely possible for your life. If you are still with me, subscribe to this channel. Because what comes next builds directly and specifically on what you are understanding right now. The thread, when pulled with patience and honesty, reveals everything.
Now listen carefully. Anxiety becomes powerful when it becomes identity. I am anxious. I am difficult. I am too sensitive. I am always like this. I have always been this way, and I will always be this way. But those are not identities, they are conclusions. And many of them were written during moments when you were simply trying to survive the situation you were in, not to accurately understand your fundamental and permanent nature. In moments of sustained overwhelm, the mind reaches for explanation. And the explanations available to a child navigating something confusing and painful without adequate support, or to an adult in genuine crisis without the resources to fully understand what is happening, tend to be brutal in their simplicity. Something must be fundamentally wrong with me. I am too much for the people around me to manage. I am not built for ease or for peace. I am the common denominator in everything that goes wrong. These conclusions felt like logic when they were formed. They were a way of making sense of real chaos without access to the full picture, without the developmental capacity to understand that what was happening around you was not caused by something broken or defective in your essential nature. They were written in the dark, and they are still being read daily as if they were written in full light with full information. This is the moment where something needs to change. Not the sensation itself, not the physiological response that the body produces. The story about the response. The interpretation that has quietly and persistently transformed a passing experience into a permanent address. The ritual I want to offer you has 3 steps. It is simple in its structure, but it requires something that is genuinely harder than complexity. It requires pause. The moment anxiety rises, most people do one of 2 things immediately. They obey it, allowing it to narrate the entirety of their present experience, accepting its conclusions as the truth about what is happening. Or they fight it, using every available resource to suppress, override, or push away what the body is doing. Both of these responses give the anxiety the same thing: full attention without full awareness. The ritual is a 3rd option. Step 1. Name it. Not what you feel in the totality of your experience, not the full narrative the anxiety wants to tell, specifically and only what is happening. Speak it internally or out loud if you are alone. This is a signal. Not "I am anxious," not "here we go again," not "something is wrong with me." This is a signal. That single change in language creates a degree of separation between you and the experience, not a denial of the experience, not a performance of being fine. A single degree of perspective between the one observing and the thing being observed, and a single degree of perspective held consistently over time changes direction entirely. Step 2. Ask the question. Not "what is wrong with me?" Not "why am I always like this?" Not "when is this finally going to stop?" Ask this instead: what is my body trying to protect me from right now? That question is not rhetorical. Let it sit without rushing to answer it. Let the body respond in whatever form it is able to. Sometimes the answer arrives as an image from the past, sometimes as a single word that surfaces and then fades, sometimes as a memory.
sometimes as nothing more than a physical sensation that softens very slightly when it senses it is being witnessed rather than fought. That softening, however small and however brief, is significant information. It means the nervous system registered the presence of a witness. And witnesses change everything. Because the witness occupies a fundamentally different position than the prisoner. The prisoner experiences the anxiety as the complete and total reality of the present moment. Every thought confirms the threat. Every sensation is read as escalation towards something worse. Every moment of the experience becomes evidence that something terrible is either already happening or is imminently about to happen. The witness sees the same sensation within a larger context. The witness can hold the experience and simultaneously hold the awareness that the sensation, however intense, is not the whole of present reality. The witness can ask the question that the prisoner, by definition, cannot access. Is this happening now, in this specific room, with these specific people, in these actual present circumstances? Or is this a memory of something that happened before, surfacing into the present as if it were current? That question is one of the most powerful perceptual tools available to the human nervous system, because the answer reorganizes time. It places the sensation in its correct location, not here, not now, not this, but there, then, before, in different conditions, experienced by a version of you that was doing everything they could with the resources they had available at that time. And once the body begins to locate its signals correctly in time, rather than experiencing all historical activations as equally present and urgent, something real begins to shift in the quality of the experience. Step 3. Stay present. Not through force, not through suppression, not through the exhausting performance of appearing calm while something real is happening inside. Through curiosity. What is the sensation doing right now? Is it moving? Is it changing? Is it asking for something specific? Presence is the antidote to anxiety, not because it eliminates the sensation, but because it refuses to be absent from the experience. The moment you bring full, curious, non-judgmental attention to what is actually happening in the body, something fundamental shifts in the quality of the experience. The sensation becomes information again, rather than identity, rather than catastrophe, rather than irreversible proof of something permanently broken. It becomes simply information about a nervous system doing the job it was trained to do, and information can be responded to with care and with intelligence. Catastrophe cannot. This is the ritual. Name the signal, ask what it is protecting, stay present with whatever arises. Not performed once in a moment of clarity, practiced daily, in the small moments, in the completely ordinary moments when the body tightens for reasons you cannot immediately name. Not to silence the anxiety, but to slowly, consistently, and patiently demonstrate to the nervous system that presence does not lead to punishment, that curiosity does not cause collapse, that you can be fully present with what you feel without becoming it. That is not a small thing. That is the entire foundation of the change that is possible here.
Healing is not convincing yourself that everything is fine. Healing is teaching your body through repeated, real, lived experience that the present is not the past. Slowly, repeatedly,
without violence toward yourself or toward the history that created the patterns you are working to change. Neuroplasticity means the nervous system can genuinely reorganize itself through repeated experience. But the body does not update through speeches about wanting to change. It does not reorganize based on a single moment of profound insight, however real and however meaningful that insight feels. The body trusts evidence. Repeated, consistent, embodied evidence that specifically contradicts the original prediction about what the world will do, what people will do, what you are capable of experiencing safely. Evidence is a difficult conversation that ends without punishment following it. Evidence is a boundary set and held without the relationship immediately collapsing. Evidence is rest taken without some disaster following the rest. Evidence is love received without discovering a hidden cost attached to the love. Evidence is success sustained without the internal machinery immediately beginning to dismantle it. Evidence is presence offered by another person and received, actually received, without the defensive bracing that says, "This will surely be withdrawn once they see me more clearly." That is how the nervous system actually learns, not through one transformative breakthrough moment. Through the slow, quiet, unglamorous, unsexy accumulation of moments that consistently tell a different story than the one that originally trained it. This is why your daily life, not the exceptional moments, not the retreats or the breakthroughs or the sessions, but the ordinary texture of your daily life must become a training ground for safety. Not a performance of wellness for an external audience, not a demonstration of how healed you have become. A training ground, real moments, small moments. Moments that look entirely ordinary from the outside and carry enormous significance for the nervous system that is trying to update its model of what the world can be trusted to do. The nervous system does not need grand gestures of transformation. It needs consistency, small, repeated, honest consistency. And here is what that consistency actually looks like in practice, not in theory, not as aspiration, but as specific, concrete, doable action. It looks like staying in a difficult conversation instead of disappearing from it before it reaches resolution. Not because staying is comfortable, not because you feel ready, because the staying provides one specific, real data point to the nervous system. Conflict does not always, necessarily, end in abandonment or punishment or the destruction of connection. It looks like receiving a genuine compliment without immediately minimizing it or deflecting it entirely. Not because you fully believe the compliment yet, because the receiving, even if slightly awkward, even if imperfect, provides evidence to the nervous system that positive attention from another person is not automatically followed by humiliation. It looks like resting for 1 hour without producing anything, without checking anything, without justifying the rest to anyone, including yourself. Not because the rest feels natural or easy, because the rest provides evidence that your worth does not depend entirely on your output, that stopping does not lead to disaster, that your value is not conditional on your constant productivity.
It looks like letting someone genuinely care for you without immediately calculating the cost you will eventually have to pay for having allowed it. It looks like softening, even slightly, even briefly, when every trained instinct is telling you to armor up. Each of these moments is a data point, a real, embodied, nervous system legible data point. And each data point speaks directly to the nervous system in the only language it fully and completely trusts, not the language of words, not the language of insight or understanding or intellectual clarity. The language of experience. Over time, and this is genuinely true, documented, clinically observed, the accumulation of these experiences begins to revise the original calibration. Not erase the history, not pretend the past didn't happen or didn't matter. Revise the working prediction about what is likely to happen next. Slowly and without drama, the old conclusions begin to loosen their grip. The body begins to consider, tentatively at first, then with increasing confidence, that this particular moment might actually be different from the one that originally trained the response. That this specific silence does not necessarily carry the meaning the old silence always carried. That this kindness does not have the same hidden cost that the old kindness always seemed to carry. That this peace is not a setup, that this success is not automatically followed by its own undoing. This is the work. It cannot be rushed without consequence. It cannot be purchased or bypassed or compressed. But it can be done. It is being done right now by people who simply choose again and again to provide their own nervous system with one more piece of evidence of something different. One moment, one data point, one gentle, honest, persistent contradiction of the old story. And what you feel on the other side of this work is not the permanent absence of difficulty. It is a different quality of presence in the world, a presence that is not constantly braced for impact, that can soften into connection without immediately scanning for the cost. That is the direction, not a final destination, a direction. And every single moment you choose to move toward it matters more than you may currently believe.
Tonight, choose one moment, only one. Not a protocol, not a 30-day commitment, not a promise to yourself that tomorrow you will be fundamentally different. One moment. When anxiety rises in the days ahead, and it will, because the work is not finished in a single session, pause before immediately obeying its story or immediately fighting it. Place one hand on your chest. Breathe slowly enough that you can actually feel your chest rise and fall beneath your hand. And say internally, in your own voice, "This is a signal. I do not have to become the signal." Then write one sentence. Not a paragraph, not a journal entry, not a comprehensive analysis of everything you learned tonight. One sentence. My body is trying to protect me from something it learned a long time ago. Not from a threat that actually exists in this room right now with these people. Not from something that is actively and currently happening in this specific present moment. From a memory.
from a prediction built on data that was collected in conditions that no longer define my present. From a conclusion that was written in different circumstances by a version of me that was doing everything they could with the resources they had at the time. Do not perform healing. Do not try to feel differently than you actually feel. Observe truth, just that. Observe what is actually happening without judgment and without the additional weight of a story about what it means about who you fundamentally are. That is enough for today. And carry this specific understanding past this moment, past this screen, into your actual daily life. The question most people quietly carry about anxiety, often without even realizing it, is the question they are continuously asking themselves, is, why am I like this? Why do I always do this? Why can I not just be the way other people seem to be? The question that actually leads somewhere different is not that question. The question is, what happened that made this specific response make complete, logical, even intelligent sense at the time it first developed? The first question places you as the problem, the broken variable that needs to be corrected, managed, improved, or overcome. The second question places the experience that shaped you as the context, the real and specific conditions that a nervous system was responding to with the intelligence it had available. And once you begin asking the second question with genuine, honest consistency, not as a performance of self-compassion, but as a real and serious inquiry into your own actual history, something fundamental in you begins to reorganize. Because you stop fighting yourself, and you begin, slowly and carefully and without rushing it, to understand yourself. Self-understanding, practiced with honesty, with genuine curiosity, without the additional weight of judgment or self-condemnation, is one of the most powerful and most consistently underestimated forms of healing available to any human being. It does not require a particular technique, though there are many useful ones. It requires only this, the willingness to ask the right question and stay with the answer, however uncomfortable, however unfamiliar, however different from the story you have been telling yourself. You do not need to have resolved everything that was explored in this session. You do not need to have had a breakthrough that you can point to and describe. You do not need to feel immediately, comprehensively, and sustainably better as a result of having been here tonight. What you need, the only thing you actually need right now, you already did. You showed up. You stayed with something difficult for the entire duration. You brought genuine curiosity to a topic where most people bring only frustration, avoidance, or self-blame. That is the practice. That is neuroplasticity happening in real time, right now as you listen. Your nervous system just received evidence. The specific evidence that you can be fully present with your own difficult experience without collapsing into it, that you can hold the signal, feel it, acknowledge it, stay with it, without being entirely consumed or defined by it, that you can witness what the body is doing with something other than fear or self-recrimination. That is not a small thing. That is the foundation. If this resonated with you in a way that felt genuinely personal and specific to your actual experience, like the video. Share it with someone who carries the same signal quietly in a way that nobody around them fully sees. Subscribe to this channel because the next session goes deeper into the specific layer where anxiety and identity formation become so entangled that most standard approaches never fully reach it. That session changes the frame completely. And in the comments before you leave, write this: I no longer confuse survival with identity. Write it slowly. Read it back after you write it. Let your own voice deliver that sentence directly to the system that needs to hear it most. Until next time. You are not broken. You are becoming conscious.